Okay, here you have the raw data in these two sheets, the closed spectra and the open spectra. So for each of these, each row is a different frequency, and each column is a different one of you, a different one of the 51 people that we got data from successfully. So you can see the 51 columns and the, I think, 59 different frequencies. And so this is everyone's data summarized like this, and I'm going to show you two things. In this first video, I'll show you how to plot a figure of the spectra that's averaged across all the people for each condition. And then on the second video, we'll go over how to plot some bar graphs of the overall alpha power and compute some statistics that we can include in our paper as well. So let's get started here. So first of all, we're going to compute the average spectra in each condition. And so we're going to average over all the people. So first let's count the people, and let's get the average. We'll get the standard deviation, and we'll also get the standard error. So to count the people, we'll use this command count, and we'll select all our data from the first subject to the last subject. And we can pull that down like this and apply it to every individual, every frequency. And now we can do the same for the average. So to compute the average, we'll say equals average, and then we'll select all the 51 subjects from B2 to BA to AZ2. So that's the average for this frequency of 1 Hertz across all the people in this condition. Standard deviation we'll do similarly. So here's standard deviation. We use the S because this is a sample from the greater population, if you remember back from statistics. And we'll select all those values from B2 to AZ2. The standard error is an estimate of the error in the population. And to compute this, we take the standard deviation and we divide it by the square root of the number of subjects, which we have in that first column. And so here we have these 3 values. And now, just like we did for the first column, we can drag these values down for all the different frequencies. This. So there we have it for this condition. We have the number of subjects, the mean, the standard deviation, and the standard error. So this is the mean for every frequency across all our subjects. And we can do the same thing in the other spreadsheet for the open spectra by just copying those 4 columns and pasting them like this. Now we want to get this data into this new sheet so that we can make some figures. So to do that, we will go over to this sheet and we'll say first that we want to get the closed data, and we'll go back to, we'll say equals, and we'll click on the other sheet and we'll get the mean for the closed data like this, just the first value for now. And then we'll also do it right beside there, we'll get the standard error for the closed data. So we'll get those 2 values, and we can pull those all the way down to 60, because we have those 59 different frequencies. We can just confirm that there's 60 rows, that's correct. So there's the mean and the standard error for the closed condition, and then here they are for the open condition. We can get them in the same way. We'll say equals, go over to the mean. Here we'll say equals, and we'll go over to the standard error, and then we can pull those values down. We can double click as well, and then we'll pull them all the way down. So there we have the closed and the open data. Now to plot those as lines, we can select both of the columns. Actually, it's better to just select the 2 sets of data. Select the 2 columns and go to Insert and press line chart. Let me show you that again. I'll delete that. So you select the two columns and you say insert and you grab the line chart. So here we have the line chart. Now I'm going to show you a number of ways that we can modify this chart to make it effective at showing our data. So one thing we should add is error bars. And so we can select this line, the closed condition. We can add these standard errors for each frequency. We'll go to Add Chart Element, and we'll go to Error Bar, More Error Bar Options. We'll click Custom. You can see the error bars already on there, but we're going to use different values. And then you can see it's asking us to select the values, and we'll go into our sheet and select those values like this. We'll use the same values for the negative and the positive directions. And we'll press OK. So now you can see we have some error bars on our chart. We'll do the same thing for the other line. Go to Error Bars, go to More Standard Error Bar Options, go to Custom, specify the values, and we'll select the standard errors that we have on the sheet here. So now for each condition we have these little error bars that are going to show you how much the data varied across the different subjects. We can click on these error bars and we can color them in different ways. For instance, here I'll color these ones orange and I'll color these ones blue. And I'll leave it up to you to pick the nice colors and make them fancy. I like to take out these lines. Of course, we can also add, we need to add labels for the axes. So on this axis we have the power, which is in microvolts squared. And on this axis we still have these values 1 to 60. So we actually need to fix this. We need to make these the different frequencies. And so we have our frequencies. Let me zoom out here a little bit. We have our frequencies in our first column of our spreadsheets. So we can actually just grab them from there and paste them into this sheet here. We'll say equals, and we'll start with equals, and we'll, it's not going to work. So equals, and we'll go over to one of our spreadsheets, and we'll find that first column here, press enter, so we have the frequency of 1 Hertz, and then we can drag that down or double click to get all the different frequencies. Now we need to assign these values on the horizontal axis to those frequencies. We can go to Chart Design and select Data. Then here, horizontal category axis labels, and we can select these frequency values, and we'll see that our plot is going to replace the numbers that were there before with the actual frequencies that are associated with each of these. We can also add a horizontal axis label, frequency hertz. We can add a title. And we should also note that there's a legend here that shows open versus closed. One other thing we might want to do is right-click here and adjust the range of that axis. I think we can only have it go to 3.5 and it will look better. There we go. So now we see this nice separation between our two conditions. From ear channels. Remember that these are the average of the two channels behind each ear. So that's it. That's a nice plot of the big nice effect that we found. We found more alpha oscillations for the closed condition compared to the open condition. Your plot doesn't have to look exactly like this. You can play around with the scaling, you can play around with the colors, you can play around with the style of error bars, and good luck. And I'll see you in the next video where I'll show you how to compute the statistics and make a bar graph just within this alpha range here from 7 to 14 Hertz, we're going to compare the amount of alpha oscillations.